This is part 3 of a class 2 composite restoration. This is the finishing and polishing portion of the video. So I'm going to select a round burr that fits into my contra angle, my latch type. And remember what I had told you previously, you want to select a burr that is going to, be the right size for the area that you're working in. This one may be a little too large, so I'm going to go ahead and get a smaller round burr. This one I think will be a good size. I'm going to go up and over my margin very lightly. Make sure that you're spinning forward. Don't remove your marginal ridge. Make sure that it is, the right height, same height as the adjacent tooth. So if it's high, you want to just go right in the middle, and then you taper up and then taper up here. And don't have your foot going full force on your rheostat. Just have it going kind of slow. From your marginal ridge, you want to kind of pull it down, roll it. That distal side of the marginal ridge, let's call this the mesial side and this the distal side, you want that to kind of roll down. You don't want it to be a sharp edge, and it goes down right into your fossa. Then you have your transverse ridge there. Make sure that your margins are all nice and flush. If your burr is kind of jumping around and not flowing very well over your tooth, change your angle. Maybe come from, this angle, and then it won't jump around, as much. So you want to make sure that you round this mesial side of your marginal ridge. And again, you want to make sure that your marginal ridge is the same height as the distal. So you want to just kind of drill that right in the middle of the margin, so until it, touches this adjacent tooth and is at the right height, and then you taper up this way and taper down to that area. Okay, so then you have a nice angle going right down and then back up. What's nice about doing composites is if you do have an area where you need to add a little bit more on the occlusal surface or something, you always can. You just have to, see if you have to prepare it again. I'm going to check the occlusal surface here. So I can feel that there's some material right in there that does not belong there. You only want the material in the part of the tooth that has been prepped. Okay, you don't want it laying on top of the cusp tip or anything like that. So I think there is some material right here on top of this cusp tip that does not belong. So what would happen if I left that there? Patient, first thing they would do is probably hit on it when I check their occlusion. But if they didn't, that area wasn't prepared with etch and bond, so it eventually would break off, and then it would leave an uneven margin. So I want to make sure that I go over this area. You have to be so careful. This burr sometimes catches. So have a good fulcrum. Hold your instrument close to the working end, but not so close that you can't see what you're doing. Okay. Okay. Let me dry this. And now I'm going to show you how to use the discs. I know I mentioned before that when you're using any kind of stones that are abrasive and discs that are abrasive, you have to make sure that you rinse the tooth in between changing the discs, because your grit will remain on the tooth, and then it'll be continuing to remove material that you didn't want to be removed. So right now I'm going to be using the coarse disc, and for the mesial side I'm going to adapt this disc so that I can get the lingual embrasure, and I'm going to tilt it slightly. Oh, you probably can't see this well enough. I'm going to tilt the disc slightly towards the occlusal surface so that I don't have it straight up and down, because sometimes the disc will catch and then you'll end up opening your whole contact point. So with a very good fulcrum, I'm going to tip the disc towards the occlusal surface, and I'm going to focus on smoothing. So listen, I'm going to focus on smoothing the lingual cavus surface margin, but make sure, put the disc where it needs to go, and do this motion before you step on the rheostat. Make sure that it's where it should be. You don't ever want to hold it in one place, because then you'll take this whole disc, this whole cusp off, okay? You swipe over, okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing over here, and tilt it. And what I'm trying to do is I want to round my marginal ridge, curve it, like this should be an embrasure as well, right at the very top of this filling. So you can see it now. This looks nice and curved, just like, the natural embrasure. There's a nice V embrasure in there. No materials in this little tiny area right there. It's just contacting right here. This margin is really nice and rounded and smooth. It's rounded here, kind of rounding in towards the tooth. And then this mesial side of the marginal ridge is kind of rounded going down into the mesial fossa. This feels nice and smooth. If your disc is not going to be able to get this area on the buccal side, so if for some reason your disc can't get in there, then we'll use the lightning strip, and I'll show you how to do that. You want to make sure that this feels nice and smooth, and then we're going to go to that side. So I had the disc this way. The coarse side of the disc was towards the tooth, but now if I do that, it's not going to be angled right. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to flip it around, and now I'm going to have the coarse side of the disc towards the mesial, okay, or towards the mandrel. Now when I come in, it's going to be angled the right way. So again, place this and swipe and make sure you have the angle that you want before you step on the rheostat. So step it on it lightly and swipe as it's going around. Okay, and I want to pay attention to this embrasure area and make sure that it's nice and smooth and it has kind of the right contour. Again, you can swipe to kind of round that distal marginal ridge, swipe in towards, and then here you're going to work on this embrasure. Be patient and do this slowly and gently so that you're sure you're getting the right adaptation to this disc, or of the disc to the tooth, because you'll remove the tooth. Okay, so I can see that there's still a little bit of material right here that I don't want. So I'm going to continue with that disc, and then I'll go with the disc right below that one. There, that got it. You don't want your filling to look like it's bonded. The one tooth, you don't want it to look like it's bonded to the other tooth. They should look separate. So your marginal ridge needs to be rounded. Okay, so here is a lightning strip, and you put the clear part of the strip down interproximally. If you can't get it in there, then you would put a wedge in first. And I want to do this with the strip right now so that I can make sure I don't need that abrasive disc before I switch. So by putting a wedge in there, putting the wedge in there, that's going to help to open the contact a little bit. And I can get this strip down in there. Put the abrasive side towards the filling. And it gets a little tricky to try to get things down in there. So you gotta pull this through once you get it in there. There's a little bit of a catch. I'm going to put the clear side through again if I can. Oh, there, we got it. Once you can get a little bit of that abrasive side through, you got to pull real hard. I don't want to open the contact, but I want to get rid of this little piece of flash that's in there. So you have to keep doing this. And rub it up and over. Now this strip is the same as any disc or burr. I mean, it's abrasive right here, so when I'm finished with this, I'm going to have to rinse it and then go with the polishing side. Going with the still working on that interproximal area. I'll leave that disc or that wedge in there. I'm doing it gently, but I can still see, when I look down in there, let me see if I can show you what it looks like. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this in the mirror or not. Probably not. No, you can't see it. There's a little tiny piece that almost looks squared in there, and I don't want that there. So I'm going to leave that wedge in there, and I'm going to try one more time with the more coarse disc. See if I can get that rounded right in here. Yes, I got it. There we go. Those little details that are important. Okay, now I'll do all of those areas with this second disc. Smooth it. Okay, flip it around so I can get it from this end. Okay, and then I'll put the third one on. Get a little rinse and a dry. Flip this around. If you leave these areas rough, then that's what's going to accumulate debris, so you don't want to do that. Then I'm going to the last one. Alright, now I'm just going to work on the occlusal area. See if there's anything that needs to be done here. I think I'm just going to use the white stone just to make sure that this is all flush. Feels pretty good though. I don't really need to. This feels pretty good. Maybe I'll just use it right in there. It feels a little rough. Not really rough, so I can get away with just using, this white stone. See if I can get this from the other angle without bumping the camera. It's kind of in the way. Feel everything, and then I will polish it up. Let's catching there. Still. Let me get the round burr. That white stone's not doing enough, so don't spend a whole bunch of time using that white stone. Go ahead and just go to your small round burr. And if you don't have a whole lot to remove, whoops, I just dropped it. If you don't have a whole lot to remove, you can spin it counterclockwise, and it might just be enough to smooth that. So that's what I'm going to try. Remember, counterclockwise just kind of polishes it up, smooths it a little, it doesn't remove a whole lot. So let's see if that was enough. Yep. That was what we needed. I'll do that at a couple other areas too. Polish this up. The point's not enough to get like inner proximal, so you're not going to be able to do that in there. But you could use your white stone if you needed to smooth that up anymore, but we already used the disc, so shouldn't need to use anything else. I'm going to polish it with the polishing paste. Just a little bit. Make sure you get it in there, and you want to polish, you know, the inner proximal areas and everything too. Now you can use, you know, you're going to be in the patient's mouth, so you have to come in like this. Come from the front, and this camera's in my way. So I'm just going to cheat a little bit since the camera's in my way. I'm going to remove the wedge and then give my final rinse. That feels good. That's at the right height. Oh good, I thought the interproximal embrasure looked kind of weird, but it was just polishing paste in there. I thought, oh no, what is that? Okay. So one thing is I made a big mistake, because before I polished it with those last two polishers, I want to make sure that I check the occlusion. So that was a boo-boo. That was a boo-boo on me. But I'm going to check it now, and you can see my paper's really chewed up. Flip it around, use another side, or change it to a new one. No. Usually pretty good with putting the anatomy in, so you guys, if you forget to check the occlusion first and polish up, you're going to end up adding 10-15 minutes, because you'll have to go back in and do all the steps again from coarse to fine and then polish it up. So in this case I was good, thankfully, and I didn't have to go back in and do it all over again. So then you want to make sure that you check with floss. You want to make sure you have good contact there. If you don't have good contact, you may have to drill out one of the contacts. As long as you're just drilling filling, you can do that. The patient might seem a little concerned, so you can. They don't know what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, but make sure that if you're not comfortable with drilling down through your restoration, that you have the doctor drill that area out so you can refill it. What's nice with composite is that you can add new composite to the old composite. You don't have to redo the entire thing. See this tiny little corner? Oh, that was just okay. I thought there was a little bit of flash, but it was just polishing paste. Okay, thanks for watching.